Okay, dear students, I am D. Mysore Babu, JLM Chemistry Namukuru, Krishna district. Okay, now I am discussing the properties of solids. This topic was removed in the previous year in the 30% quota, which was removed due to COVID. This year, entire syllabus to be taught, and hence I am taking this part also to teach. Okay, properties of solids. Mainly we discuss electrical properties and magnetic properties in solids. Solids, based on their conductivity, they are divided into three types. They are conductors, semiconductors, semiconductors, and insulators. So these are the three types of solids based on conductivity, right? So what is meant by conductivity, or what is meant by current? Current is nothing but flow of charge. In solids, current may be due to the flow of electrons or due to the flow of ions. In ionic solids, current is due to the flow of ions, whereas in other solids, the current is due to the flow of electrons. Okay, of course, in ionic compounds, conductivity is due to the flow of free ions. In solid state, conductivity is ionic compounds are insulators in solid state, but in solution state or liquid state, they are good conductors because of ions. Okay. Now we will discuss the differences between these three based on their conductors. In conductors, the conductivity is between 10 power 4 ohm inverse meter inverse to 10 power 7 ohm inverse meter. In semiconductors, conductivity is 10 power minus 6 ohm inverse meter inverse to 10 power 4 ohm inverse meter inverse. Okay. In the same way, in insulators, the conductivity is 10 power minus 20 ohm inverse meter inverse to 10 power minus 10 ohm inverse meter inverse. Okay, so this is about the conductivity of conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. Next one, if we take band theory, we will discuss it later. Okay, here there will be conduction band, valence band. Electrons move from valence band to conduction band. Okay, if there is energy gap or energy difference between these two, then flow of electrons may be different in different solids. In conductors, valence band and conduction band, of course we will discuss them later. Valence band and conduction band interfere each other. They overlap each other. Okay, that means say this is conduction band. Say this is valence band. VB means a valence band. So these valence band and conduction band overlap with each other. In semiconductors, there will be small energy gap. Okay, there will be small energy gap. Small energy gap between valence band and conduction band. Valence band and conduction band. Okay. Say this is conduction band. Say this is valence band. Valence band. This energy difference is called energy gap or forbidden gap. That means if electrons have to enter from valence band to conduction band, they must gain some energy which is equal to this energy difference, which is called as energy gap or forbidden band or forbidden gap. Okay. Whereas in insulators, there will be more energy gap. There will be more energy gap between valence band and conduction band. That means say this is conduction band. Say this is valence band. Okay. So the energy gap is very high. That means electrons cannot enter from valence band to conduction band. Okay. Next one. If we take examples for these three examples, for conductors, metals are better examples. Metals and some metal oxides. If we take examples for these semiconductors, germanium, silicon, germanium. Okay, and we will discuss if some impurities are doped in this, what happens. Okay, next, if we take examples for insulators, plastic, wood, okay, plastic, wood, porcelain, etc. So these are the solids which are examples for insulator. So based on the conductivity, solids are divided into three types. They are conductors, semiconductors, and then insulators. Okay. Next, how the conductivity takes place in semiconductors. We discuss the conductivity in semiconductors. How the electrons flow from valence band to conduction band, and what are the factors that influence the flow of electrons from valence band to conduction band. So band theory. In solids, say atoms are packed closely with each other. When these atoms of substances are packed together, then the orbitals become molecular orbitals. Okay, so the orbitals present in the atoms which come close to other atoms, which are having same energy or almost same energy, form molecular orbitals. So atoms form molecular orbitals. Again, these molecular orbitals are again two types. Okay, so if molecular orbitals have low energy, then electrons enter those orbitals which have low energy. like above principle. Okay, so these molecular orbitals form a band called as a valence band which has low energy, and some molecular orbitals have high energy, which is called as a conduction band, Okay, so this conduction band will have high energy. Okay, so if in semiconductors, given the electrons present in the valence band enter into conduction band. Okay, right. Take the semiconductors. Semiconductors are again divided into two types: intrinsic semiconductors and extrinsic semiconductors. So what are intrinsic semiconductors? Pure form of semiconductors are called intrinsic semiconductors. And if some impurity is doped in these intrinsic semiconductors, then extrinsic semiconductors are formed. Examples for intrinsic semiconductors are silicon and germanium. Okay, silicon and germanium. In silicon and germanium, these two are 14th group elements. Okay, the atoms of silicon and germanium, 4 electrons are present in the outer orbit. Okay, so intrinsic semiconductors. So, what are the examples for intrinsic semiconductors? Silicon and germanium. Say this is one silicon atom. Say this is another silicon atom. Say this is another silicon. In this way, the atoms come close to each other in solids. So, in solids, the interatomic distance is very less. As these are 14 group elements, in outermost orbit, 14 electrons are present. Say these are the 4 electrons of these atoms. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So when atoms come close to each other, the atoms trade electrons and form covalent bonds. Okay, the 2 electrons are shared by adjacent atoms like this. So say these are the covalent bonds. Okay, so this is about intrinsic semiconductors. What happens in intrinsic semiconductors in valence band and conduction band? Say this is the valence band. Okay, valence band. Say this is the conduction band. So electrons are present in valence band because they have low energy. Okay, so this is called EG. That means energy gap. The difference in energy between valence band and conduction band, energy gap. Okay, that energy gap is more when compared to the conductors and less when compared to the insulators. Sufficient energy is given to the solid, then what happens? The electrons present in the valence band enter into conduction band. Okay, conduction band, leaving their original place. Okay, this is called as lack of electron or electron vacancy. This electron vacancy is called hole. This is called hole. Okay, hole can be treated as positively charged particle. Electron has negative charge and hole can be treated as positively charged particle. Okay, that means hole will have positive charge. Right? Say this is the valence band, and say this is the conduction band. When electron enter into valence band to conduction band, then a hole will be produced like this. Okay, so when hole is formed like this, then the electron moves towards the hole. Okay, so forming a hole in the second place. Forming a hole in the second place. Okay, again the third electron goes to the hole. Third electron goes to the hole. Then again the valence band and conduction band will be like this. Okay, that means the direction of electron is like this. The direction of a electron is like this. Whereas the hole comes from this side to this side. Okay, so here hole is at right hand side, here hole is at the middle and at the left hand side. So the direction of a hole will be like this. Direction of hole will be like this. Okay, so direction of electron is opposite to the direction of a hole. As hole is also treated as the positive charge, current is due to the flow of electrons and also due to the flow of holes. Okay, current is due to the flow of electrons and also due to the flow of holes. Here, if one electron enters into conduction band, one hole is formed in the valence band. That means in intrinsic semiconductors, number of electrons is equal to number of holes. If one electron enters into conduction band, one hole is formed in valence band. Okay, so number of electrons formed is equal, number of electrons entering into conduction band is equal to number of holes formed in valence band. And the conductivity is due to the flow of electrons and holes. Therefore, number of electrons and holes is equal, current due to electrons is equal to current due to holes. Okay, so net current I is equal to, okay, E electron is equal to E holes means current is equal to IE plus IH, which is equal to 2 into IE or which is equal to 2 into IH. This is in intrinsic semiconductors. Okay, so in intrinsic semiconductors, number of electrons is equal to number of holes and current due to electrons is equal to current due to holes and net current I is equal to IE plus IH. And as number of I is equal to IH, this may be equal to 2I electrons or that is equal to 2I holes. So this is about the intrinsic semiconductors. Okay, examples for intrinsic semiconductors is silicon and germanium. Next, we go to extrinsic semiconductors. If we want to discuss extrinsic semiconductors, first we have to define doping. What is meant by doping? What is meant by doping? Introduction of impurity, introduction or adding, introduction of a small quantity of impurity, small quantity of a impurity to the pure substance, to the pure substance is called doping. Is called the doping. Okay. So these are the pure substances, silicon and germanium. To these intrinsic semiconductors, if impurity means these may be 13th group or 15th group. Similarly, in some semiconductors, 12th group and 16th group elements are also doped. Okay. If some 13th group or 15th group element is added in small quantity, okay, in silicon or germanium, then these are called as extrinsic semiconductors. So, what are extrinsic semiconductors? Extrinsic semiconductors. If some impurity is doped in intrinsic semiconductors, extrinsic semiconductors are formed. If impurity is doped in intrinsic semiconductors, extrinsic semiconductors are formed. Extrinsic semiconductors are formed. These are of again two types. When impurity is doped in the solids, then their conductivity increases. These extrinsic semiconductors are again of two types. They are P type of semiconductors and N type of semiconductors. First we will discuss N type of semiconductors. So, N type of semiconductors. N type of semiconductors. In N type of semiconductors, 15th group elements are doped in intrinsic semiconductors. Okay, right. Say silicon or germanium. Take germanium. Okay, another germanium. Okay. So there will be covalent bonds among these unpaired electrons like this. If in this germanium, what are 15th group elements? Phosphorus, arsenic, okay, antimony, bismuth. These are the 15th group elements. Nitrogen, of course. So if small quantity of phosphorus is doped in the germanium, then what happens? Small quantity. We are taking only one atom of phosphorus, but we are taking around 8 germanium atoms. So small quantity of 15th group is doped in intrinsic semiconductor germanium, the 15th group atom will have 5 electrons in its outermost orbital. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So phosphorus forms 4 covalent bonds with 4 germanium atoms like this. Phosphorus forms 4 covalent bonds with 4 germanium atoms like this. Here, one more electron is left on phosphorus. So this is electron of a phosphorus. Electron of a phosphorus. So when 15th group elements are doped in intrinsic semiconductors, number of electrons will be more than number of holes. Okay, number of electrons will be more than number of holes. Electrons carry negative charge, so this is called as N type of a semiconductor. Similarly, current due to electrons is more than current due to holes. Current due to electrons is more than current due to holes. So we say electrons are majority carriers. Electrons are majority carriers. Carriers means current carrier. Current carriers. So electrons are majority carriers in N type of semiconductors. In N type of semiconductor. This is about N type of semiconductor. Okay. So in N type of semiconductor, 15 group elements are doped in intrinsic semiconductor. Similarly, if we take P type of semiconductors, then 13th group elements are doped in intrinsic semiconductors. 13th group. What are the 13th group elements? Boron, aluminium, gallium, indium, thallium. Okay. Boron, aluminium, gallium, indium, thallium. Okay. So in P type of semiconductors, say germanium, we have taken germanium. If some quantity of aluminium is a small quantity of aluminium is doped in germanium, aluminum as it is 13th group element, it will have only 3 electrons in its outer orbital. So this aluminum forms 3 covalent bonds with 3 germanium atoms. Okay, to form 4th covalent bond, it has lack of 1 electron. Okay, to form 4th bond, it has lack of 1 electron. This lack of electron is called hole. This lack of electron is called hole. Okay, so this is called as a hole. So when 13th group elements are added to the intrinsic semiconductors, then number of holes will be more than number of electrons. Okay. Similarly, current due to holes is more than electrons. Current due to holes is greater than current due to holes is greater than current due to electrons. Okay. Right. So as number of holes are more when compared to number of electrons, and as hole is treated as positively charged particle, okay, net solid will have positive charge. So this is called as P type semiconductor. Okay, in P type semiconductor, holes are majority carriers. Holes are majority carriers. Okay. So this is about P type of semiconductor. So intrinsic semiconductors are again divided into 2 types. They are N type semiconductors and P type semiconductors. Of course, there are certain semiconductors in which 12th group atoms and 16th group atoms are also doped. Okay. Next, what are the uses of these semiconductors? What are the uses of these semiconductors? Of course, you will go through these semiconductors in physics also. So they will be discussed there clearly. Next, uses of semiconductors. If P type and N type, P type and N type semiconductors, P type and N type semiconductors come close to each other, then it is called as a diode. It is called as a diode because there are two types. Di means two. There are two types of semiconductors. Say this is P type semiconductor and the N type semiconductor. The joining part is called as junction. This is called as PN junction. PN junction. Okay, this is called as a PN junction, and this is called as PN junction diode. So PN junction diodes, PN junction diodes act as electronic, not electric. It is electronic, as electronic switches. Electronic switches, and they act as rectifiers. They act as rectifiers. What is a rectifier? What is a rectifier? The instrument or object which converts alternate current into direct current. Conversion of AC to DC is called rectification. For that rectification, we use a PN junction diode. Of course, there will be two types of rectification: half wave rectification and full wave rectification. In half wave rectification, only one type of junction diode is sufficient. For full wave rectification, two junction diodes are necessary, which is connected in opposite direction. How it acts as an electronic switch. So in N type of PN junction diode, holes move this side and electrons move this side. Electrons move this side. If external electric charge, external electric field is applied like this, here this side negative charge and say this side positive charge. Okay, then more number of holes enter into N type of semiconductor and more number of electrons enter into P types of semiconductor. Okay, so current flows from, okay, we take a positive charge as conventional current, flow of positive charge as conventional current. In the same way, if here positive charge is given and to this negative charge is given, then what happens? The electrons are repelled upper side and holes are repelled negative side, and through junction, no electrons and no holes move or cross the junction. That means no charge will be flow through the junction. That means it acts as current will be off, OFF. Okay. So if we want to send current, if we want to send current, here negative charge is applied and here positive charge is applied. That means electron field then here positive charge is given and here this end negative charge is given. So and if a P-type semiconductor is sandwiched between two N-type of semiconductors, sandwich means it's kept between two P-type of semiconductor is kept between two N-type of semiconductors, then it is called NPN transistor. This is called the NPN transistor. Similarly, or between two p type of semiconductors, n type of semiconductor may be introduced or sandwich. Okay, then this is called as a PNP transistor. Here it will have three terminals. In junction diode, only two terminals are present, whereas in transistors three terminals are present. Okay. Next, what are the uses of transistors? Transistors are used as accelerators, and also amplifiers. What is meant by amplifying or amplifier? This is of course again of two types: current amplification and voltage amplification. Amplification means increasing. So if current is increased using this transistor, it is called as a current amplifier. Similarly, if voltage is increased, then it is called as a voltage amplifier. So these are the main uses of a semiconductor. So we discussed electrical properties in solids. Now we will discuss magnetic properties in solids. Magnetic properties in solids. So in solids, current is magnetism is due to, or magnetic properties are due to the rotation of orbital electrons. Okay, electrons revolve around the nucleus. Say this is nucleus. Electron revolves around the nucleus. Similarly, spin of the electron. What is meant by spin? Rotation on their own axis. Rotation of electron on their own axis. That is called as the spin. Due to rotation around the nucleus and due to rotation about its own axis, the magnetic properties arise. So how? So flow of current is nothing but flow of electrons. So this can be treated as the electron carrying conductor. When current flows through a conductor, then magnetic field is produced. Okay. When current flows through a conductor, magnetic field is produced. Of course, if you take linear conductors, the direction of magnetic forces or magnetic lines of forces can be detected using Ampere's right hand rule. If we hold the linear conductor such that the thumb represents the direction of flowing of current, then the other four fingers give the direction of magnetic forces, magnetic lines of forces. Okay. So in that way, if the flow of electron can be, or the rotation of electron can be taken as the current carrying conductor, then magnetic field is produced. Similarly, here also. So magnetic field is produced due to evolution of electrons and due to spin of electrons. Okay. Next, these magnetic properties are of different types. So first one is paramagnetic substances. So paramagnetic property is due to the presence of unpaired electrons. Unpaired electrons. So paramagnetism, paramagnetic substances are weakly attracted by. These are weakly attracted by weakly attracted by external magnetic field. External magnetic field. So when magnetic field is produced on these substances, they are weakly attracted. If we take examples, Cu plus 2, Fe plus 2 or under Fe plus 3, okay, Cu plus 2, Fe plus 3, Mn plus 2, etc. These contain unpaired electrons and they show paramagnetic motion. Next, second one, diamagnetic properties or diamagnetic substances. Diamagnetic substances. So in these diamagnetic substances, electron pairs are present. So electrons are paired. Electrons are paired in these substances. And these are repelled by external magnetic field. These are repelled by external magnetic field. External magnetic field. They are repelled by external magnetic field. We take zinc. Okay, zinc. Here VO2. Similarly, here TiO2. TiO2 acts as a diamagnetic substance. And ferromagnetic substances. Ferromagnetic substances. These ferromagnetic substances are strongly attracted by external magnet. Strongly attracted by external magnetic field. External magnetic field. Okay, these are strongly attracted by external magnetic field. Why these are strongly attracted by magnetic field? This can be discussed later. Okay, and if we take examples of ferromagnetic substances, iron, cobalt, nickel, gadolinium, CrO2, chromium dioxide, etc. These are ferromagnetic substances. What is the difference between paramagnetic substance and ferromagnetic substance? Weakly attracted by external magnetic field, and ferromagnetic substances are strongly attracted by the external magnet. Okay, paramagnetic substances lose their magnetism if external magnetic field is removed, but ferromagnetic substances retain their magnetism even after the removal of external magnetic field. So even after the removal of external magnetic field, they retain their magnetism. Okay. For this reason, for the preparation of permanent magnets, okay, ferromagnetic substances are used. Ferromagnetic substances are used. Okay. So if iron is converted into magnet by one touch method or double touch method, single touch method or double touch method, that iron becomes a magnet. Okay. So that is the reason. How this iron becomes a magnet in this method, this will be discussed. In ferromagnetic substances, the atoms are grouped together and that place is called as a domain. That place is called as a domain. That domain acts as a small magnet. That domain acts as a small magnet. As a small magnet. Of course, in iron, as these domains are randomly oriented, as these domains are randomly oriented, the magnetic moments are cancelled out. Okay, the magnetic moments are cancelled out. But when these are converted into magnets by single touch or double touch method, these coming to only one direction. These coming to only one direction. Okay, and they do not come like this for long time. So these can be converted as a permanent magnets. Okay, next ferromagnetic substances, or we can write the domains like this in ferromagnetic substances. Next, anti-ferromagnetic substances. Anti-ferromagnetic substances. Anti-ferromagnetic substances. In these anti-ferromagnetic substances, the domains, are arranged in anti number. Okay, so here the domains are in the same direction. All the domains are in the same direction in ferromagnetic substances. In anti-ferromagnetic substances, the domains are parallel and in opposite direction in equal number. In equal number means number of domains in one direction and the number of domains in opposite direction will be the same. If 3 are in upper direction and 3 are in lower direction or downside direction, so net magnetic moment becomes 0. So these are called as anti-ferromagnetic substances. Next, ferrimagnetic substances. Ferrimagnetic substances. And ferrimagnetic substances. So in ferrimagnetic substances also, domains are arranged parallelly but in unequal number. Say 2 are upside, say 1 is downside. Say 2 are again upside, 3 are downside. Okay, 1 is upside and 2 are in downside, like this. So in ferrimagnetic substances, the domains are parallel but in different number. Okay. So if we take examples for anti-ferromagnetic substances, manganese dioxide or V2O3, NiO, etc. For ferrimagnetic substances, if we take examples, okay, Fe3O4 and ferrites. What are ferrites? Ferrites are having formula M plus 2O and M2O3. M plus 3. That means, okay, these are double salts or double oxides in which the metals will have there will be 2 types of metals, in which one will be in plus 2 state and the other will be in plus 3 state. Of course, Fe3O4 also, Fe3O4 can be written as FeO, Fe2O3. Here, this iron atom is in plus 2 state and this iron atom is in plus 3 state. Okay, ferric oxide. That means it is a combination of ferrous oxide and ferric oxide. Okay, so ferrites will have like say MgO, Fe2O3. This is another example of ferrite. So ferrites and Fe3O4 are examples of ferrimagnetic substances. Right. This MnO and NiO, these can be converted into paramagnetic substances by heating to higher temperatures. For example, MnO converts into paramagnetic at 50 K and this NiO becomes paramagnetic at 150 K. Okay. So this is about the properties of solids. We discussed the electrical properties of solids and the magnetic properties of solids. Okay, thank you. Good.